afterlife, not the afterlife. The field of reeds. But before we get there, I've just got to do a quick little...
شطي وأماني العالم كله بأسراره عالي شوية.
Welcome back to Disney Marvels for week of May 15th, 2022. This is episode 176. Disney Marvels, the show about Disney, Marvel, Lucasfilm, Muppets, Pixar, 20th Century, the parks, and much, much more. If it has to do with Disney, it's fair game. I'm your host, Matthew Graken. Well, last week we were talking about Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. And I put a poll out there saying, what did you think of Doctor Strange? In fact, the poll was, what is your take on Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness? And you can find this poll on our Facebook group, facebook.com/group/Disney Marvels, or follow us on Twitter at Disney Marvels. Both places carry the polls usually. And your options for the answers being, absolutely loved it, enjoyable, solid movie, decent, middle of the pack, one of the worst MCU movies out there, and you made your voices be heard. Only 6% of you said it was the worst MCU movie out there. Good to hear, because I don't think it was one of the worst ones. 27% of you said decent, middle of the pack. 27% of you also said you absolutely loved it. So we're split right there. But the majority has it. 40% said it was an enjoyable, solid movie. Yes, it was. So there you have it. The people have spoken. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is an enjoyable, solid movie. If you haven't seen it yet, do take the time. Go see it. Like I said, it's one of the shorter MCU movies. 2 hours, 6 minutes. Goes by fast. A lot happens. And I think you will end up enjoying it. If you go in knowing that it should be enjoyable, I think you will enjoy it. And on that note, we'll be back after these words from our friends and sponsors.
Hey guys, Rob for Alt Universe here. Are you into nerdy things like Pokemon, Marvel, and Disney? You've come to the right spot. We have videos, we have games, we have contests. We just do all sorts of fun. Whether it's going live during the week or posting about an article about a new movie coming out, we do everything we can to keep you in the know and have some fun. Oh, and we have swag too. So come on. We're everywhere social media can be found, and we want you to become part of our family. Stay nerdy.
And now, on with the show. So, we touched on the dark vigilante that known as Moon Knight a few episodes ago, and how much we're enjoying it, and how much we look forward to what was to come next. Well, we didn't get to anything in between then. We have now gotten to the end of Moon Knight 2 weeks ago. And, well, I can't say right now what I thought of it, because I need to let my co-host here be introduced first. Of course, I have to speak. When I'm speaking of gods, I have to always think of Isaac. And Isaac, thank you for coming aboard and talking Moon Knight once again with me.
Oh man, thank you for having me, man. I always appreciate these intros, man. You put me on a weird pedestal that I gotta live up to, man. But yeah, sure, I'll try to live up to that.
As long as your pedestal doesn't encase you into a stone statue, you're good.
Yes, like Conchu, man. I don't want that. I don't know. Actually, no. Add a funny thing. Out of like all the gods, what would you what Egyptian god would best represent you?
You're thinking I remember all my Egyptian gods.
Yeah, I know, right? I guess I probably would. Maybe more of like an ISIS. I don't know. Maybe I don't remember.
You know what? Going with the ones that we saw.
Yeah.
Let me go with the hippo. God help me if I remember her name.
Oh,
I love that character.
Oh, jeez, she was fantastic. She was totally fantastic. It was Tawet. It was Tawet's character.
That's right.
Yep. That being said, yeah, in terms of now finally watching all 6 episodes of Moon Knight. Yeah, just like you said in the beginning, I wasn't, I did come in to it. First of all, I think it's always a cool fresh breath, like fresh air of discovering a character that we had known nothing about and just kind of all of us kind of learning through it. Again, and I have to admit, through watching the first episode, it was intriguing though, but I was also concerned. It was still slow paced, still intrigued. It was still interesting in how they were setting things up between how Oscar Isaac's character was being delivered was this gentleman by Steve, who's very neurotic, very impulsive, but very intelligent, smart. And we learned that his personality disorder is possessed by Mark, or so that would theme in trying to find Harold's tomb. With that being said, after now finishing from season 1, from 1 to 6, I honestly have to say that Moon Knight has probably become one of my more favorite superheroes now in the MCU, and it was just within 6 episodes. This has been an incredibly well done series. And it's all under the back of Oscar Isaac's performance as playing Steve Mark in this incredible series. I think he's done. I feel like he is a candidate to win an Emmy if Emmy season runs around, because the way he was able to balance, the way that he was able to handle the personality disorder, first of all, was the respect, and to him and the writers has been very well done, and to kind of show its I guess I don't want to say flaws, but to kind of show it in its reality in the worlds of the MCU, but able to kind of show it in a very respectful way is nothing but phenomenal. And for him to do it, just for Oscar Isaacs to kind of switch to Steve being that very neurotic person, to be able to switch to Mark, who's very stern and suave and but a little bit hurt, and to be able to play between these two characters, between being an a person born in London and American, is just nothing but amazing. It's an amazing feat of what he's able to accomplish in this show.
Let me just state now, we will be getting to spoilers about this series. It did start off. I was intrigued by the first episode and wasn't sure exactly how they were going or where. I had no idea where they're going to go with this. And I remember when we were talking to Matt about the first episode, and I'm glad all 6 played out this way. Nobody else from the MCU shows up. There is absolutely really no other connection to the MCU. This is a entity unto its own. So you can just start off and watch this by itself and not have to know about Tony Stark getting shot at in a desert and blown up by his own missiles and then taken hostage by some terrorists and building a suit and Thor losing his hammer and all. You don't need to know any of that to sit down and watch this and take this in and enjoy it.
That is very, and that's very interesting that you brought that up about no other character shown for the MCU, because there was a talk about them making that they want to bring a couple of characters for the MCU wanting to make grand appearances, but like I said, I'm kind of I'm with you. I'm very happy that this is one of these series where we can just kind of focus on the characters at large and not have to worry about them, how they fit within the MCU tapestry right now that Kevin Feige is trying to create. We just get to focus on the character and whatever they have to achieve and trying to, they're going through their superhero arc story. And I think it was very pleasant. I think it was done so well. It's just the action here is preserved by Oscar Isaac. Ethan Hawke, playing as Arthur Harrow, I thought was a fantastic villain. And that's another good thing about it. I think Marvel is starting to get better writing villains.
Yeah.
In the series, like they're bringing. You also kind of bring in Arthur Harrow, who is trying to release Amit. Through prejudging pretty much, that you get to hear a little bit of his struggles, that he was once a controller of Khonshu.
He was Khonshu's avatar at one point.
His first avatar. Not his first avatar. I wouldn't say his first avatar. I think they revealed that later. They actually revealed that later in the show, which I thought was pretty cool. Who was the first avatar? But yeah, he was one of the avatars back.
The prior avatars. Yep.
He was one of the prior avatars that Khonshu tricked as a god. Also played by the fantastic F. Murray Abraham, who plays Khonshu, whose voice is so deep. Like, it's just a very iconic voice to play the stubborn bird and how
it
two
fit
fight
him
between them and
perfectly.
stuff like that. Yeah. But it was just such an incredible, amazing dynamic between these characters and how they balance out each other and stuff like that, too. I thought was really, really impressed.
And note for Oscar Isaac, they are looking to try and get him award season talk. The one problem that they may have is limited series versus first season, because at one point they put out those limited season, limited series. At one point, someone slipped and dropped season finale.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning that there's going to be another season.
Yes, it's right now. Kevin Feige said it's kind of up in the air at the moment. They weren't really too sure if they were going to do a season 2 of. I hope they do. I think there's a lot that needs to be explored.
I think they're going to. I think they will, but until they get this, award season stuff a little more structured and settled in, because if they go limited series, there's less competition versus full season, where there's a season 1 of multiple, where that makes it a serial show that there's got more competition. So that's as I was that was explained to me. Jim Hill was talking about that. So that's kind of the wire that they're walking right now. In my mind, though, I can't see them not doing a season 2. Most of the feedback I've seen has been pretty good, and this is a show that each episode, for the most part, just kept getting better and better and better.
It did.
The more that I was watching it, the more I learned about these, because you have 2 main characters that you're really learning about. You're Mark and Steven, and you have to learn about the 2 of them. And when you found out the backstory of the whole thing, that was heartbreaking. That was heartbreaking.
That was horrific. I mean, honestly, I have to say this is probably the best Disney Plus MCU show, I think, right now. If we're gonna do like a ranking of the shows right now, this totally pushes it number one. Like I think it hops number one in my list right now as just a fantastic show. But yeah, just to kind of get into to dive into more of that episode of the episode, which was episode 5, right?
Five was by far, I think, the best episode.
I think 5, where I feel like where Oscar Isaacs, first of all, deserves an Emmy nod alone for his ugly male cry at the end of that one. Like that, like if anybody, I don't know if any men know that ugly male cry. I'm like I've probably done that one once in my life. I was like, because like you just but even not with him with that moment, like even when he was Steven, even in the first episode, you just feel for him because here's a man who's trying to live his life, who doesn't know who just assumes that he was sleepwalking. When in reality, he turns into this completely different person out of nowhere. And like you said, once you learn about the reason why Stephen Grant was created, it's incredibly heartbreaking. The fact that what you learn about these people that do have personality disorder is usually when unfortunately when their minds are fractured and broken to such a point that they will just simply almost create another identity or another avatar of themselves so they can protect themselves from any more further harm, which was displayed. And I think that handling a real topic of disorder that is very controversial, and you don't want to be campy or make fun of it, I thought was done very well in terms of the pain, and especially the pain that was caused from the mother, who you saw after what happened to the brother, to Mark's brother, that she mentally broke. Yeah. And because of that, tried to break her son and tried to blame it all on him. And it was very tough. And it was done very well. I think these were one of the moments where I know we talked about how, say a certain movie, how like they would push the boundaries of violence and stuff like that. Like, okay, but I think this was a moment that was done perfectly, where I think implications here work just as better if it was actually really shown. And I thought this was really done very well on that part.
Yeah, as for the violence, where they show you without showing it to you, I think was absolutely a fantastic way of handling it, and it leaves allows your imagination to go as bloody and hardcore as you wanted to.
Also, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then, as for going to the story with the mother, the writing on that was just so fantastic, and they really paid tribute to why this happened, and the fact that it was a shelter, it was a way to protect himself, and it's in not making light of the situation. I mean, did they have fun with it earlier in the series? Yeah, well, the banter back and forth between the two of them and stuff like that, of course. But they do take a moment to make it very serious and slow it down and focus on there was a reason for this, and it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
It was just so well done. Oscar Isaac's performance throughout that was great, and then the moment when Steven actually says to Mark, "It's this is your fault. You did this," mirroring the mother's words. Then you saw instantly on Mark's face what that did to him, and then his reaction to it. you the to me, just watching it.
That's episode 2, right? I think
No, this is episode 5 still.
Oh, this was still episode 5.
This is episode 5 when they're in the hallway, just after seeing the scene with the mother, and Steven's yelling at Mark, and he repeats one of the mother's lines about blaming Mark for the death of all the people. Steven was talking about the people in the real world in the future or present time, about everyone dying if we do not head back. And then, but he mirrors the mother's words from whenever the mother came down and blamed Mark for the death of his brother.
Yeah.
And it just drives Mark mad.
Oh yeah. Because the only reason why I said that, because I feel like there was a reference in episode 2 where once after he kills the Jackal and Moon Knight and has that conversation with Steve, because Steve is on the other end, is where Steve kind of triggers Mark into kind of going into a bit of this rage moment where he kicks in the mirror because he wanted to shut him off, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Or Mark was trying to. I thought that was what the reference which you were trying to make, though. But it's oh, dude, it's great. And also in terms of storytelling, the fact that in the beginning of the storytelling where he would black out and then show dead bodies all around him was, I thought, a great storytelling element that was really, really good. I thought it was a good story element that was kind of sprinkled throughout was sprinkled out through pretty much episode to episode, and I thought that was really, really done. It did worry me at the season finale they did it again. However, they do end up fixing that up at the end with the end credit at the end with that, which was really, really good. But yeah, this was a very well done. This was a very well done series, which it kind of explores. It really just opens up a lot in terms of what this character can do, and yeah, totally amazing. With that being said, Matt, I want to bring up another character too. I don't want to. We've been talking a lot about Oscar Isaac. We mentioned a lot of Ethan Hawke's character, Arthur Harrow. Let's talk about a little bit of Layla Foley, her character. What did you think about her addition into Moon Knight? What's your thoughts?
I liked her. It's a shame that we lose her for a little while, and again in episode 5, but we get to follow her more in episode 6. We don't have her all in episode 1, but when she shows up, she's an interesting character, and I again, though, this is one that I think we didn't learn enough of. We get glimpses and pieces of her backstory, but I feel like there was maybe still a couple holes. Like, wait, is she a spy? Is she an archaeologist? What is her exact task?
I think they do reveal to her, I think it was episode 3, that she steals antiques from bad people and returns it back to like museums or places that were originally stolen from. So that's what that's her deal. She would go into these underground where the richest of riches would hold the most rarest of antiques that were originally stolen. She would steal those back and give those back to either bring them back to the museums or what they were originally done. Though.
That's right. That's right.
So that was her game. They actually do a good job. Again, it was with the 6-episode arc for what they did. I thought they did a good job of trying to establish characters really, really quickly. At least give them a baseline to it. That also with that being said, and here's one of the reasons I wanted to bring this character up. You actually set this up perfectly. At the episode 6, she ends up becoming Talowit's avatar, which basically she ends up becoming the Scarlet Scarab.
Yeah.
What's your take on that? Did you felt that was a little bit rushed? Did you feel like there was enough to justify her all of a sudden becoming another superhero out of nowhere?
I think they did the best they could with that, in considering the situation that they put the character in. She wasn't given much of a choice. She had to say yes. And because even a couple scenes before that, whenever you find out, okay, she is on the truck with Arrow's people, and the bodies start talking to her. With Arrow's voice, this high pitched squeaky voice coming out of these security officers. So even then, you would make a perfect avatar for me. I would love to have you as my. So they planted the seed moment, a little bit beforehand, and then they forced the hand whenever everything's starting to cave in and drop down. So was it rushed? Yes, but did it bother me? No. I was okay with how they came about that, and I thought she was really cool with the wings and everything like that. I'm like, oh, she's pretty cool. And the scene where the little girl that she saves from the vehicle running her over, are you an Egyptian superhero? And she just looks at her and goes, yes, I am. So that was I think that was a funny but nice little moment.
Yeah. I agree with you. It didn't bother me though, but I could also understand that in Steven, at least Steven and Mark's situation, they've been kind of through it. Like you kind of have the sense that they've been through it already. And I get that Layla is clearly a badass in her own right. But I feel like in terms of being superheroes, like you don't really go through your coming of age story. I feel like it was every superhero arc. There's a coming of age of learning your powers and understanding it, and with great power becomes great responsibility and all that other other jazz.
Great. Isaac's gonna get killed now.
The great situation. I know. I think I said that wrong, but what people get what I'm talking about in terms of the kind of the how to become a superhero arc, especially like flying. I don't think anybody knows how to fly that quickly. If she's able to pick it up like that immediately. I felt like those moments again. It didn't bother me, but I could understand that. Okay, maybe if they gave me like one more episode just so she can have that moment of just kind of learning who she is and being the superhero, I think would have been just a little bit more touching though. But again, I felt like at times like she was more badass than even Moon Knight at certain moments. So maybe they didn't want.
Wrong there.
Honestly, I feel like her superpower. Instead of her becoming the Scarlet Scarab, she should have become Flare Girl, because like episodes 5. Think about it. Like every time she had flare, like she was very crafty with a flare. Like she threw the flare into the bomb, or when the Egyptian monster came, she would shove a flare into his eye. Like she was really good at flares. Should have been her power. Her superpower should have been flares. Just nothing but flare. She's very.
You want flares? I got flares for you. Here's a flare. Here,
just throw flares at everybody. She should have thrown flares at Arthur Harrow. That's the way that should have been done. But yeah, I thought that was. And what about the gods too? That the battle between Khonshu and Ammit battle. What in terms of that? What was your thoughts on that?
I thought that was a nice device to see. You had the two gods battling it out while you had the two avatars of them battling it out. In some ways, it was symmetric, and in other ways, it wasn't. The only thing I wasn't certain of, and they really didn't, I don't think they really touched on it. Did everybody else see the gods fighting?
I'm going to assume only the people in Cairo did, because that would have to make sense. Only the people in Cairo, because eventually they said that let's focus on Cairo, then we'll go after the rest of the world. So I'm only assuming Cairo. Oh, I mean, they would assume that something had to happen, because eventually Ahmed's followers ran into town and started judging everybody, and then all their souls started to feed into growing.
They saw the followers, and wherever they started killing people. That I understood that the people of Cairo saw that, but did they see the 60-foot representations of their ancestors' gods fighting each other from the temple?
Yeah, one would have to, right? Or
do they?
Or maybe, actually, maybe they didn't, because maybe they didn't see that, because
nobody seemed to acknowledge it.
The only two people I think the only three people that really knew that the gods were only happening were really just Arthur, Steve, Mark, and Layla would be the only two to actually see that, because they're the ones that have avatars. So thus they would see the gods. Maybe not everybody is able to see that, but maybe that phenomenon is just something that happened, within that. Also, right. Another thing too, also wanted to ask quick question is what I think was it episode 3 on how Mr. Knight would help change the sky. The whole world had to know that happened, right?
Well, that they did recognize that people did see that happening. You did see people reacting to the change of the sky.
Yeah.
So you knew that happened, but any point that you see Khonshu on screen, no one else sees him
other than Steve, Mark, and Layla are the only are the only 3 people.
Well, did Layla see him until the end?
No, but I think he knew about it. She knows about the fact
she knows about him, but she didn't see him.
She doesn't see him, but she knows about him, because remember in episode 2, remember when Arthur was talking to Steve, but then Khonshu would just throw a hissy fit. Although Arthur knows that he's around, he can't see him, but he knows he's around. But he
knew what he was doing because of his
because he's not possessed by him anymore. Right. So only the one that's possessed by Khonshu is the only one that can honestly see him. Although episodes, the closing, the last credit scene,
he does see him.
So yeah, I don't know. He does see him, so I don't know. Who knows? I mean, again, Layla was able to talk to Khonshu throughout the whole situation. So, yeah. I also like Khonshu, because Khonshu just doesn't Khonshu's just an old bastard of a god. He doesn't.
The ODB god.
He really is the ODB god. And he's like, yeah, it's like, I'm gonna let you 2 out, but I'm not gonna let your 3rd one out, which was kind of hidden throughout the last.
Kind of, but it wasn't. They made so many references to it throughout particularly the latter episodes. It makes you wonder if some of the events in the earlier episodes, was it all Mark? Like the scene in the car, whenever he blacks out, and then he's got the gun, and the back is open, and that whole, the cars are flipping over. Mm-hmm. Was it Mark or was it Jack? So
yeah, which I was also kind of in debate about that too, because a part of me wanted to say that Jack tried to when they were in the psych ward, when they were in the psych ward talking, and I noticed when Mark or Steve tried to grab the glass pyramid, I thought that maybe that could have been Jack a little bit. Maybe we thought maybe that would have been our first instance of Jack right there, maybe popping up because Mark, we know Mark can fight, but he doesn't seem like he really wants to kill. Although in episode 5 he did kill people, Mark did kill people. So like,
Yeah.
so it was again, yeah. See what I'm saying? So it's like a little weird though. So I don't know, man. It's weird, between Steve, Mark, and now that we've mentioned it, Jake Lockley at the end, who's like who's like a Spanish assassin or a hitman, pretty much.
Yeah,
So,
because you had, was it episode? It was before that. That you had the one moment that you had the blackout scene,
yeah,
and it wasn't Mark and it wasn't Steve because they both denied. No, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. It must have been you. No, it wasn't me. So they made a reference.
that we knew. That we knew.
No, wait, that was episode. Was
3.
that 4 still, or was that 3?
That's 3.
And then in 4, when they
'Cause they
first
go to
go into, the Mark releases Steve from the sarcophagus, and then there's the
Episode 4.
other sarcophagus.
That'd be
Not
episode
just
5.
that, you had the movie playing in the background. That was in the character's name was Jack
Secret.
Lindsay, and not just that. That movie was the poster that they got Steve's name from.
Secret, yes.
So you had
Yep.
that movie was actually supposed to be Steve Grant, but in the video that you're watching in his mind, it wasn't Steve, it was Jack.
Really
Uh-huh.
interesting.
So you got a lot of stuff going on there.
Yes.
It plays in different layers. Like I was talking to somebody else about this earlier. So whenever they're in the psych office, and Mark is talking to Arrow, and like you said, he wanted to grab the pyramid. It was so there was
I
the
thought that was
pyramid.
Jack. Part of me thought that could have been Jack.
Yeah, but
Just
it was he was trying to kill him with the pyramid, and where did they have to take him to stop him? The pyramid. I mean, you have that representation there. Again, very, very well written.
Oh yeah,
Stuff here.
this was a very one of the better shows, well written, and I have to say one of the more, I think, stronger finales. Because
it still fell a little flat in a couple areas.
it did.
It was
You're right.
It was the shortest episode, which is very strange.
Wasn't it really?
It was 42 minutes. It was the shortest episode.
Wow, that is weird. I felt like if that was the case, why was it that was weird? Because I feel like could have used an extra 10 minutes just to kind of. I don't know.
They could have put more into it. Episode 1 and episode 5 are 47 minutes, and the other ones are 50, and 51 minutes.
Really? Wow.
So, yeah, last one is 42 minutes. So it is a good 5 minutes shorter, at least 5 minutes shorter than any other episode.
Oh, man. Do you feel like? Do you feel? I think we've mentioned this too. I feel like. Do you feel like there's always like a director's cut for these Disney Plus shows? That would be really interesting, man, to see the director's cuts of the Disney Plus shows. I know we'll never get that, but that would be really cool especially for like Moon Knight. I would have loved to see a director's cut of these shows. Even if it's just like bloopers or some ideas that just never got realized, that would just be cool just to see,
The deleted scene section, I would love that.
Yeah.
I would love to get a little more out of it. It's episode 6, and kind of an unfortunate Disney Plus tradition now that the episode 6 was not the strongest episode, but it was still, I thought it
was fun.
It was very fun. Very fun, and I loved. You have this big battle going on. We have to go stop the bad guy. We just They bring Mark and Steve back from the dead. Khonshu's there. All right, we got the powers back. Let's go get them. And Steve takes over and he's sitting there. So let's negotiate at the moment. How's this going to work?
Yeah. That's when both of them. And I also
You're
love
really doing this now? Yeah. I love not only did the personas change in person, but as Moon Knight, you had
the different
Moon
costumes.
Knight and Mr. Suit.
Knight. Mr. Suit. I think it was Mr. Knight. I think they call him Mr. Knight.
Mr. Knight. That's yep.
Yeah, Mr. Knight. So, which I thought was really cool. I thought that was a really cool, interesting level too, and how they differ in styles of combat. Which I thought was really, really cool, and how they can balance each other out.
Different weapons, different style of combat.
Different styles of combat. Yeah, which was very, very intriguing, very interesting. That being said, too, was Jake. I'm also kind of does Jake get a suit too? If that were to be the case, I don't know.
Would say he has to, and I would love to see what that suit looks like. And that was when they blacked out. I'm like, oh, we get to see what Jake's suit looks like. No, we don't.
No, like I think that would be really dope to see Jake's suit. I don't, or if Jake even gets a suit. I totally don't know, because I know in the comic books we get the Mr. Knight suit. We get the Moon Knight, the classic Moon Knight ceremonial suit, and then you get Mr. Knight, suit. Which, by the way, everybody in Comic Con is going to be wearing one of those two right now. I can totally see it now. But yeah, it'd be really intriguing to see if Jake, if the guys would give Jake a suit. That would be pretty dope. Because I know it was Jake Hartley's character. In his character in the comic books, he's a cab driver that also has like a violent temper. But the only reason why he's a cab driver is to get like low end intel in the underground world through like talking. That's like his detective mode, pretty much.
Right.
I'm very curious to. Now, again, with the MCU, it seems like they're just trying to make him a full-blooded assassin by what it looks like because of the death that he leaves around, So, which I feel like they had. I feel like I apologize. I keep talking. I feel like that character.
That's why we have a podcast.
Yeah, that's why we have a good podcast. Which I feel like he developed that. You feel like he may have developed that persona during his military work. That's the only way that persona would have showed up.
That's a good point. I think that would make perfect sense. He's here. He's need to create a mental persona to help him through difficult times. And being the mercenary, gun for hire, would be another level that you would think this would fit in. So I think that works. That works out good. Did you find it kind of interesting that it's an Egyptian god controlling a Jewish guy, or working with a Jewish guy?
If we're going like Ten Commandments here.
That's kind of what
I was thinking about.
Did you not even notice it? I mean, probably no one noticed it, and here I am bringing it up.
I knew that he was Jewish. That I knew. I knew that I didn't know, but that connection I didn't until you mentioned it. And then when you said that, like, my only response would probably be the Ten Commandments. I don't know how that plays out, but but yeah. A Jewish guy from Chicago, mind you. Let's remember that.
Yeah.
A Jewish guy from Chi-Town. But yeah, no, that never really dawned on me until you really brought that up now. So, but yeah, no. Overall, I think this was a fantastic series. I hope that we get more. Speaking of, since you brought up something about that, remember when early in the podcast you mentioned that they wanted to bring in cameos. Do you know what the cameos were supposed to be?
I do not know. I didn't even realize that they were trying to bring other characters.
So
Maybe Black Cat?
What?
Maybe Black Cat?
No. The cameos that they wanted to bring in Congo's character from the Eternals.
Okay.
They wanted to bring a couple of Eternal characters from the Eternals in to make a cameo appearances on Moon Knight, which would make sense because that was the time when the Eternals would have came in and then would have mixed it in. And I thought that would have been really interesting because then it also talks about the whole God situation on how the religion works in terms of the MCU, in terms of where the pecking order is. It would have been really interesting to kind of just see where that pecking order and how everything fits within the universe. Again, didn't hurt the series at all that much too because it was its own standalone, nothing tied into it. But it does make me wonder about how they would handle that pecking order.
Yeah. I think though there was reference to, if I remember correctly, hearing that there was reference to the Eternals. That there was a movie poster for one of the Bollywood shorts somewhere. I'm trying to think. I think it was one of the earlier episodes where they show like a theater or something, and then there's one of those. It was one of the Bollywood posters I was hanging up there.
That's true. I do remember also in the only real MCU references were the Madripoor reference, if you remember that, and the fact that there's multiple celestial planes.
Yeah.
Because Black Panther has their own version of it. They all it's their own interpretation, but they all lead to the same afterlife. The characters pass on.
Mm-hmm.
That was interesting. So I picked up on those two references.
That was a good point. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I thoroughly enjoyed this. And I do hope there's more. Because I just feel like we did not get enough, which makes you also wonder. I guess they did answer the questions. Like, okay, he freed Mark and Steve. He said, okay, I'll free you. And so Khonshu freed them. So do they no longer have their powers? But Jack still has the connection. So I guess they, by default, still have the Moon Knight powers and not know it?
That's probably what's happening at the moment. Because knowing who Khonshu seems to be like a trickster, like a person who clearly doesn't keep his word.
You can't trust him.
You can't trust
Arrow
him.
said.
Yep. They come to show him to not trust him. Which he says, he said, I'm gonna release you two, but it's the third guy that I really just need. You two can you guys can go and do whatever you want and not even worry about it. Which is also very interesting. If only those two were to release Jake, maybe they would be able to find out more, more information, and maybe those three could come aligned together though. But yeah, I feel like this is one of those series that really needs more another season just to kind of explore more of that character. That also said, do you feel like when do you think the next time we'll probably see this Moon Knight character again? What do you think is your best chance? Do you think it will be in a season 2, or do you think it will just be straight to the MCU?
I can't at this point foresee the Moon Knight character showing up on any other project besides Moon Knight just yet. So I would.
You don't think not a Midnight Suns project by any chance or anything like that?
I don't think so. Like, to me, it almost seems like The Mandalorian. Like first season of Mandalorian, straight up just Mandalorian, no real crossing over of anything else. Season 2 is whenever you started crossing over more into the greater universe of Star Wars. So to me, that almost seems like where we're going with Moon Knight. Like for Moon Knight season 1, just Moon Knight kind of stands alone, doesn't have too much bleed in from anywhere else. Season 2, okay, we've got the character established. Now we can start bleeding in more of the MCU. Other characters will show up, or other situations, and tie in to other things going on. So that's kind of where I feel like that may be heading. And season 2 probably a good 2 years off. At this point. It's not something I think they're looking at for next year.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of tight turnaround to be able to produce something that you have not even fully committed to yet in 12 months.
Fair enough. I guess we'll see what happens with this character.
Yeah.
So before we wrap it up too, normally every time we do one of these shows, we tend to give out our most valuable character throughout the series. So Matt, who was your most valuable character for this particular show?
As much as I want to give it to Oscar, because he was absolutely fantastic, and being able to portray multiple characters and interacting with himself in that way. And I understand for some of the scenes they brought in his brother to help him play off. I'm going to give it to Tourette.
I figured you would. I figured. I was like, I knew it. I was like, well, immediately when you started talking, I was like, I know exactly who you're giving this character to.
Because, I mean, she's only really in one episode, but when she shows up at the end of episode 4, it just screams and says, "Oh, hello!" It just, you just automatically love that character and the amount of detail that they put into that character. If you look at the skin, you can see the wrinkles and the line fingerprints almost on the skin, the hand, and just the twitching of the ear. Ridiculous amount of attention and detail went into designing that character, and in the way that she moves and talks, and the whole body, the motion and everything that behind. I can't think of the technical word at this time.
The rendering and the design of it was really good. Yeah, I was really impressed with especially the twitching of the earlobes, and every time she would move. I don't know why I paid so much attention to Tauret's ear twitch every time, like a normal hippo would. No, it was, there were, I feel like in terms of like the visual effects, like Tauret was really well done in terms of the skin and the rendering, and how the smoothness and the wetness of the skin on the hippo was really done. And then I felt like then you kind of look at other characters like Omnit, which was the crocodile, where you could really see that, all right, not the best of details were put into this one, though. Although, I mean, but they did their best. So the visual elements were, Khonshu was not that hard because it was a bone and beak and all that. But even at stuff.
That, there was this weird. I'm not sure if you noticed, there was a weird connective fiber between the head and the body.
Oh yeah, you saw. Oh, I did not see that. Oh,
there's this like little. Almost look like little fibers. I mean, I even know in Oscar Isaac's Moon Knight suit that there's a lot of words written in Sanskrit or Egyptian.
Hieroglyphics.
The hieroglyphics that you can't fully see, but it is all there just for the sake of having it there for authenticity.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, the Moon Knight suit was really well done. Like it's basically like a mummy. It's almost like a mummified superhero, pretty much in a sense, which was really well done. And vision. Every time that Moon Knight moved and created like the crescent moon, it was just visually gorgeous to kind of look, and how he would pull out the Moon Knight daggers and all that stuff. It was. The visual element of Moon Knight was really well done, which was fantastic. And
there was hieroglyphics on each of those daggers. It's like I don't know which suit I like better between Mr. Knight or Moon Knight itself. They both were absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, and it does reflect their personalities a lot. With my character, I'm going to keep it simple. Oscar Isaac just nails it out of the park, man. This is an actor. Again, I think we talked about a lot in the beginning where maybe he wasn't in some of the better roles. We clearly have seen him in Star Wars as Poe Dameron, which he was very interested in. But to kind of see him in this kind of breadth of work really makes me excited to kind of watch other things that is not X-Men Apocalypse. And this is definitely an actor I'm looking forward to much more in the MCU.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, go back, watch Ex Machina, or let's see what else we got here. Addams Family 2, and Dune, and let's see what else we got.
Definitely Dune. Definitely have to check him out in Dune.
He actually does voice his character in Star Wars Resistance, the Forgotten animated series.
Yep.
And of course, who could forget the now pushed back till next year upcoming Spider-Man?
That's right. Yes, he's going to be playing. That is right. He's going to be playing Spider-Man 2099.
2099. Yep.
I totally forgot about that. Wow. Yeah. That's all. That's also going to be awesome.
So yeah, he's done a fair amount, and he does a really good job with everything, or at least whatever he's given.
Yeah.
This was just fantastic.
Soon going to be Solid Snake whenever they decide to do that Metal Gear Solid movie.
Yeah. And if anyone gave up on this series after episode 1 because it was just a little too left field for them, yeah, you gave up on it way too soon.
I agree. What I do appreciate with a lot of these shows is that usually whether I like a show, usually I want to give a show 5 episodes to see if it would totally get into it, and this is kind of. Luckily, Disney Plus puts it around that end where it's like, if you like it, it's like, well, too late. You watched the entire first season, so yeah, jump off it now. So, but no, fantastic show overall. Definitely looking forward to it. Hopefully, hopefully Kevin Feige brings this one back.
I really hope they do. I really hope they do. And on that note, what would your final rating for this be?
I want to give it. I'll give it a 9. I think if we're gonna go by the 10 scale, yeah, I think I give it a 9.
That's very interesting. Last week we were talking about Doctor Strange, and you gave it a 7. I gave it a 7. This week we're talking about Moon Knight. You gave it a 9. And I'm gonna give it a 9.
Let's do it. 9.
We are simpatico on the most recent reviewing of Marvel stuff. I think I may just go back and watch it again. It's one of the few ones that I really want to go back and watch it again. Loki, I watched some episodes again.
Mm-hmm.
This one I want to watch the whole thing again to just pick up on, again, the amount of details and amount of just layering that they did. And the performance, Oscar Isaac, Ethan Hawke, just everyone really got into this and just really wanted to make this a good product. And I'd say they did.
No, I totally agree with you too, and I definitely want to. This is probably one of the series I probably want to go back and watch one or twice, just to kind of, now that we have more education between these different personalities, maybe you can go back and spot. Okay, maybe these are okay. This was hinted there, that was hinted there a little bit. All these windows already show these three, like all the little hints. I definitely want to go back and check out a little bit more of the Easter eggs too. Also, one thing that was also left off, and I think you probably already knew this, and to the fans that have already watched this, if you paid attention to watching all of Moon Knight, there were Q&R codes scattered through. If you had scattered those Q&R codes, you would have gotten a comic book from Moon Knight, a couple of comic books from the Moon Knight series, which was awesome. So
I thought that was a brilliant idea.
I think that's a cool Easter egg. I think shows need to do more Easter eggs like that. I think that would be really cool.
I mean, it's brilliant marketing from Marvel's end to do something like that, and I think, like you said, they more so with the Disney Plus stuff. You can't really do it so much with the live action, but the Disney Plus stuff. Why wouldn't you do that more often?
You agree?
Oh. Yeah, that was a brilliant marketing twist, and I think they should visit that idea more often with this, Ms. Marvel coming up, She-Hulk, all those. Throw that in there somewhere, because it's not hard to do, and it just engages your audience more, and then you end up winning in the long run.
I agree.
All right, Isaac. Thank you so much. I mean, was there anything else you wanted to bring up before?
I'm good, man.
All right. So thank you again for another fantastic discussion of some wonderfully enjoyable comic book goodness brought into us. And we will be doing this again soon.
Looking forward to it, man.
Same here. All right. Well, thank you again to Isaac for joining me in discussing Moon Knight. What did you think of this latest Disney Marvel limited series non-Disney Plus? Let us know on the Facebook group, facebook.com/group/Disney Marvels Podcast, Instagram @Disney Marvels Podcast, TikTok @Disney Marvels Podcast, and on the Twitter @Disney Marvels. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, where we post some other videos and also the audio feed for this show there as well. If you want to be heard on the show, let your voice be heard. Send us a message through the Anchor app and or Anchor.fm website, or record a message electronically on your smartphone, computer, tablet, and email it to disneymarvels@gmail.com. You could also email any questions or suggestions you may have to that address as well. Don't forget to check out the latest Disney Marvel blogs at disneymarvels.blogspot.com. Links to all these are in the show notes. I want to thank you for your time. I know how little time we all have. Knowing that we get to spend some of that time together means a lot to me, to us, over at Disney Marvels. I can't thank you enough for coming back week in, week out, being part of the conversation, and just spending time together, spending some of that valuable time. Though if I could ask you, if you could go onto Apple Podcast, leave us a rating or review. We could also do this on Spotify. And this really helps the show out. This is how people find out about the show. They do their part. It gets more people involved. Or if you don't want to do that, share a link out on social networks. And don't forget to tag us so we can give you a nice thank you. But send it out on social networks. Send a link out. Let people know. Check out the latest episode of Disney Marvels Podcast. They're talking about fill in the blank, depending on what week you do it. The more people that we have join our family, the better. Walt believed in a big Disney family, and so do I. Don't forget to subscribe to the show while you're at it. This way you always know when a new episode is posted. And while you're at it, consider becoming a premium subscriber. Really help the show out. You could do this over at anchor.fm/DisneyMarvels/support or find our Patreon page where you can get some cool stuff there. Speaking of cool stuff, check out our merchandise shop. You can get some really fun Disney Marvel stuff, logo stuff, sayings, slogans, different things that we have up on there, artwork created by us. And it helps, again, goes to help the show out in more than one way. You help promote the show with the cool stuff that you get, and a little bit of the money does help the show financially because, well, these things aren't free. Because remember, this show is brought to you by listeners like you. In Japan, broken objects are often repaired with gold. These flaws are seen as a unique piece of the object's history, which adds to its beauty. Consider this when you feel broken. I felt that was very appropriate for today's topic, considering Moon Knight. But like Moon Knight, do not be afraid to ask for help. You are not alone. You are special. And there are people out there who love you and want to help you. Be your own hero. Never give up and never give in. Now I'd like to end this week's show with a quote from Walt Disney himself. It is the source of public information in what we say to these massive receptive audience which poses the problems and the challenges of our times. Again, that's Walt Disney. Thank you again for listening, everyone, and I'll see you next time.